Why are Americans leaving the labor force, and how will the economy be affected? By Khadijah Marks. Why are Americans leaving the labor force? Pandemic, being lazy, not enough pay, and poor work environment. The pandemic is the number one reason why Americans are lazy when it comes to working in the force. As of 2023, about 66%, which is 2/3 of Americans who lost their full-time job during the pandemic, say they are only somewhat active or not very active at all in searching for a job. The COVID-19 pandemic has triggered one of the worst job crises since the Great Depression. There is a real danger that the crisis will increase poverty and widen inequalities. With the impact felt for years to come, countries now need to do everything they can to stop this job crisis from turning into a social crisis. Reconstructing a better, more resilient labor market is an essential investment in the future and in future generations. These changes came immediately after the pandemic was declared a national emergency in the mid-March of 2020. In the first 2 weeks afterwards, 72% of full-time or part-time workers reported they had to change how they were doing their job. By April, that percentage had risen to 80%, and it has then remained about the highest ever since. Lack of motivation. Motivation among American workers is on the wane this year, and a majority of them aren't highly engaged with their jobs, reducing their productivity. Less work meaning less pay, or more work and not enough pay. There is not enough motivation to keep an employee wanting to make change and ends meet at the end of the day. Jobs are not offering pay amount to meet the criteria of the benefits to survive after taxes. Lack of employment affects economy. A lack of an employee affects the economy by leading to lower productivity and an inability to overcome challenges, apathy, and poor customer service. Data shows that the U.S. workforce is not as productive as it was just a year ago. It seems people are not producing as much in hours between clocking in and clocking out each day. In the end of the day, this could have a profound effect on the country's well-being, according to The Economist. Employment wages. What are the effects of employee wages? They lose the focus to finish their tasks and projects while also losing the drive to challenge themselves to be a better in their line of work. Employees will feel disengaged with an organization due to a lack of connection in the workforce, which could potentially push them to find new employment elsewhere. Excessive inequality can erode social cohesion, lead to political polarization, and lower economic growth. How economy affect pay. Compensation levels are typically aligned with the cost of labor. What an employer has to pay for a certain job in a specific market, as opposed to the cost of living, which is driven by an inflation aligning in supply and demand of goods and services. Work environment. The most cited reason among respondents in the McKinsey survey for why they quit their jobs is feeling uncared for by the manager's intense relationships with colleagues. Furthermore, they mentioned that poor compensation, lack of career advancement, and unwillingful work were other reasons why they quit their jobs. Americans have adapted to a new way of living without working hard to get a change of pay. Americans have become lazy in a transitioning way from not leaving their home and dealing with poor work environments. Last, Americans have begun to care less of outcomes and more of survival of themselves inside of a box and not the outside of the box.